Okay, well, thank you everyone for joining us this evening. We are live on Zoom and on Facebook. If you have any questions, you can put them in the comments and we will get to them. But first, we are going to have Miss April give her presentation, and after that, the last 20 minutes, we'll go ahead and take all the questions. So, Miss April, I don't want to mess up your last name, so I'm just going to call you Miss April. Um,
Okay. No, it's a long one. All right, let me see here. All right, so let's put it in slideshow mode. Okay. Do you want me to start?
yes, please.
Okay. All right. Hi, everybody. My name is April, and I am the program director at Neuro Challenge Foundation for Parkinson's. I want to thank you for having me here tonight. We're going to do an overview of Parkinson's disease. And before I do so, though, thank you so much because April, the month of April, is also Parkinson's Awareness Month. So this is an appropriate time to be talking about Parkinson's. So, if you don't know who NeuroChallenge is, we are a nonprofit organization that pretty much serves the southwest region of Florida. We started in Sarasota 17 years ago, and since then we've expanded to cover 6 counties in southwest Florida. And what we do is we offer free programs to people with Parkinson's, as well as their care partners and any family member that wants to support their loved one. Some of the programs that we offer are things like educational programs. We do therapeutic programs, think exercise classes, art classes. We also run support groups in every county that we serve. A lot of our programs are live and in person, and some are virtual on our platform. And we also do a unique service called care advising. And care advising is where if you are somebody who has Parkinson's or someone you love, you can share this with them. They can meet with a care advisor. That's somebody on our staff who is trained to help find the correct resources for someone with Parkinson's, and also to just be beside them on this journey that they are facing. And we also have another program that is peer mentorship. So that's a little bit about NeuroChallenge. And I want to talk a little bit about what our mission is. We are here to improve the quality of life for people with Parkinson's and their care partners today. And the reason that I emphasize the word today is because we are not really focused on research or clinical trials or trying to find the cure. While those things are super important and necessary, we kind of leave that to the much bigger organizations like Michael J. Fox. We are a small local organization that likes to help people with Parkinson's and their care partners with the day-to-day challenges that they're facing. We provide resources, we connect them with local resources, and we just support them with being there in person for things that they need. So let's get into what Parkinson's disease is. Let me just move my screen over here. So Parkinson's disease is a movement disorder that affects your ability to perform common daily activities. So people with Parkinson's disease do have difficult moving. It's chronic and progressive. It affects the brain and central nervous system, and the symptoms do gradually worsen over time. It is marked by a deficiency of a chemical messenger in the brain that's called dopamine. It is also characterized by, most commonly by motor symptoms, but it also manifests as non-motor symptoms. And if you look at this picture of the brain here, this is a scan of the brain, and it's called a DAT scan. And basically, this is a tool that doctors can use when they want to confirm the diagnosis they are suspecting of Parkinson's disease. If you look at the healthy brain on the left, you'll see a lot more orange markers. And that means that there's plenty of dopamine. The dopamine system is working effectively. The picture on the right is a picture of somebody who has Parkinson's disease, and they have less of the dopamine, meaning they have a deficiency in dopamine, and their system is not working correctly. This test is not necessarily a screening tool, so it's not like anybody can just ask for a DAT scan. Normally, it's something that a neurologist uses when they want to confirm their suspicion. So, what are the roles of dopamine? And these are very important because we all use dopamine, right? This is in our brain. It's a chemical, and it's also known as the feel-good hormone. So, the feel-good hormone is responsible for movement. It helps you actually move your muscles and your bones and your body. It helps with memory, helps with pleasurable reward and motivation. It's responsible for behavior, cognition, attention, sleep and arousal, mood, and the ability to learn. So this chemical messenger that we have in the brain, which is called dopamine, basically sends chemical messages from one neuron to another. And those messages then tell the rest of the body, what to do and how to behave and how to act. So what happens is when the next slide is talking about when someone has a depletion of dopamine, these are the things that can happen. They can become very tired, forgetful, apathetic, really meaning just that they don't have motivation or drive or interest to do anything. They're unhappy. They have a low sex drive, uninterested in things, inattentiveness, sleep issues, mood swings, poor concentration. So, these are the symptoms that someone might have if they are depleted of dopamine. Now, I'm going to go over the 10 early signs of Parkinson's disease. So if you or someone you love is noticing any of these symptoms, it might be an early sign that they have Parkinson's disease. Now, if you look at this list, I can look at this list and I can say, gee, I have 2 or 3 of these things right now. Does it mean I have Parkinson's disease? Unlikely. What has to happen is your doctor has to watch these symptoms over a period of time. Okay, but take note of these because if you notice them in yourself or someone that you love or a family member or something, just keep note that these are the early signs of Parkinson's disease. Now, the neurologist that knows about this disease is going to look for 4 main symptoms in that list. And these are the 4. It needs to be a shaking type of movement in your body or what we call tremor. It needs to be some type of slowness of movement. We call that bradykinesia. It's just where your body just sort of moves a lot slower than it used to. It could be stiffness or rigidity in the arms, legs, or trunk of your body. And if you had trouble with balance, possibly a lot more falls than usual, postural instability. These are the 4 things that the neurologist out of that earlier list is going to really pay attention to and notice that if they increase over time or worsen, then they're really going to consider that Parkinson's diagnosis. So here are some of the most common signs of Parkinson's, and these might be something that you recognize if you know somebody with Parkinson's. One is that they have involuntary tremors, right? This could be, and I'll just demonstrate with my hand, like a tremor like this with the hand that they cannot control. They can't stop that from happening. It could be slowness in movement. We talked about bradykinesia. That's just general slowness, like everything kind of slows down, not moving as quickly as you used to. Rigidity and stiffness in the muscles, impaired balance, and difficulty initiating movement. So like if you're standing up and then you want to take a step, it might be like a delayed reaction. Also, sometimes people with Parkinson's have something called freezing. These are episodes where they actually kind of get stuck in motion and they can't really move anymore. And this is like a lot of times like in the middle of walking or especially getting through a doorway or something like that. And sometimes they can have something called dyskinesia, and that's an overreactivity of muscles. So those are some of the symptoms that we call motor symptoms. If you look at the picture of this gentleman here with a cane, you can see that there are some other things that weren't listed, like a stooped posture, kind of rounded back, front, like a forward tilt of the trunk, always kind of leaning forward, sort of having that bent hip and bent elbows and bent knees. It's sort of like everything is sort of flexed and bent. And also there might be tremors in the legs or the feet or the hands. Also, there's something called masked face. And this is where people with Parkinson's generally kind of lose the ability to express themselves with their facial muscles. So you might not see their eyes, their forehead and eyes open and close as much, or smiles might be a little, happen less. Doesn't mean they're not happy or that they're angry or anything. It's just hard for their muscles to operate that way. Okay, so let's go to the next one. Now, there are some other signs. We call these non-motor symptoms. So if you think of an iceberg, this picture here of the iceberg, the symptoms we talked about on the previous slide, those are like the tip of the iceberg, because motor symptoms are visible, right? We can see how somebody's walking. We can see how someone has a tremor in their hand. We can see if they're hunched over. We can see those things. That's the tip of the iceberg. What we can't see in Parkinson's is like what's under the surface. And those are what we call non-motor symptoms. And non-motor symptoms in Parkinson's look like anxiety and depression, sleep disorders, cognitive impairment. Again, apathy. This is just the lack of interest in anything, lack of motivation. Could be speech, swallowing issues, a loss of smell. They may even be having pain, visual disturbances in their vision. And then there's something in the autonomic nervous system. So the autonomic nervous system is the part of your nervous system that's sort of like the operating system, that's always running in the background. You're not consciously thinking about breathing, you're just breathing, right? So one of the things that people with Parkinson's can experience is difficulty with the autonomic nervous system. And that involves things like orthostatic hypotension, constipation, urinary and sexual dysfunction, as well as difficult regulating body temperature. So maybe profuse sweating. Now, the stages of Parkinson's are, there are actually 5 stages that a neurologist will follow and see if you are progressing and how quickly you're progressing through them. The stages really aren't linear. So what I can say about them is people can vacillate between better or worse functional states within their stages. Overall, basically, the disease does progress gradually over years, and symptoms are going to fluctuate daily due to all kinds of things, same things that affect anybody else, like maybe medication you're on, or stress, or having poor sleep or poor diet, and other chronic illnesses that you might be dealing with. Now, let's get into some of the statistics, like who has Parkinson's disease. Right now, there are over 1 million people in the United States that have Parkinson's. There are over 10 million worldwide. These numbers are probably low because not everybody gets diagnosed. Not everybody knows to go get diagnosed. A lot of people ignore their symptoms, kind of deny it and push it away and not think about it, right? So right now, about 100,000 Americans are diagnosed every single year with Parkinson's disease. It is projected that about 1.5 million people will have Parkinson's in America by 2030. Right now, it is the number 2 neurodegenerative disease behind Alzheimer's, and men are actually 50% more likely to develop Parkinson's than women. We happen to know that there are probably around 10,000 people that are affected with Parkinson's in the 6 counties that we serve in Florida. And the incidence of Parkinson's disease increases with age. And, the average age for people to get diagnosed is around 62. 15% of people with Parkinson's are diagnosed before the age of 50, and we call that young onset. So let's talk a little bit about what causes Parkinson's disease, because for a long time we really didn't know. We knew it was lack of dopamine, but we didn't know why dopamine was being depleted. And right now, there is a lot of research and a lot of studies that are kind of coming out and talking about the evidence that links Parkinson's disease with environmental factors like pesticide exposure, chemicals of war, and other toxins and chemical exposure. And I'm just going to quickly read like a list of some chemicals that maybe you even know what these are, and maybe you've experienced being around them, whether they're in your house or in the place that you've held a career. So industrial solvents is an example of a chemical that can cause Parkinson's. Paraquat, which is a pesticide, very well-known pesticide. There are a lot of insecticides and herbicides, especially like Agent Orange, and people who went into Vietnam War and were exposed to Agent Orange. Many of them end up with Parkinson's disease. Sometimes your groundwater can become contaminated, and especially if you drink from a well or bathe or cook with well water, you could be exposed to the chemicals that are in that contaminated groundwater. Also, there are agricultural types of chemicals. So if you live near a farm, or maybe you were raised on a farm and your farm used a lot of chemicals, those are the kinds that can cause Parkinson's. Also, golf courses. There was a recent study that just said even if you live within a 3-mile radius of a golf course, you are at a higher risk for developing Parkinson's disease because of the chemicals used on golf courses. Fertilizers, pesticides, things like that. There's a lot of industrial chemicals out there in the world, like dry cleaning agents. So people who worked in dry cleaning environments, are at a higher risk. There's a lot of other pollutants, like you'll know these things, PCBs, PFAS, PFAs. They're called the forever chemicals. They don't ever go away. You can't get rid of them. These are in things like firefighting foam. So if maybe you're a firefighter, you may have a higher risk for Parkinson's because you're around those chemicals. Non-stick cookware, water repellent chemicals, stain resistant chemicals, even some cosmetics have chemicals that have been known to or been linked to Parkinson's. BPA, phthalates, plastics, PVC, the list goes on and on. So those are just a few. And you can see that Parkinson's disease does not discriminate, okay? Because anybody who has exposure to these types of chemicals that I just talked about is at a higher risk for developing Parkinson's disease. Also, this is a good takeaway moment here, because if you think about it, really, we can be preventing Parkinson's disease, right? By just avoiding exposure to these types of chemicals, and maybe by even talking about eliminating these types of toxins and chemicals in our environment. So avoiding it for the future generations is something that we are all trying to bring awareness to. Also, repeated head injuries have been known to be linked to Parkinson's. There is a little bit of a genetic factor. About less than 15% of cases of Parkinson's disease are primarily due to genetic causes. That's a very small percentage. The majority is environmental. Age is a risk factor, and of course, there's just some unknown origins. So let's say you or a loved one or someone you know, a friend, gets diagnosed with Parkinson's. What are the next steps for them? Number one, get a referral to a neurologist, or what we call a movement disorder specialist. A lot of times your primary physician is going to be the one to first notice something, or you'll come to them with a couple of symptoms. But if they are suspecting it could be Parkinson's, make sure you go immediately to a neurologist or a movement disorder specialist so that they can confirm the diagnosis and work with you. It's also important that you seek care from a physical therapist, an occupational therapist, and a speech therapist on a regular basis. These therapists are going to be your front line to helping you combat some of the challenges that come with Parkinson's disease. It's also very important to start a regular exercise program. And I'm talking about 7 days a week. We can talk a little bit about that later. It's also important that you talk with your friends and family. They are going to be there to support you. So you got to, make sure that you're sharing with them the challenges you're having and how they can help you. And also, it's important to start planning for the future because we do know that this is a progressive disease. So the treatment team really is whoever you make it up to be. You're going to be the most important part of the treatment plan team. You're your best advocate. You'll probably have somebody like a care partner, like that could be your spouse or somebody in your family that really wants to be by your side, helping to care for you during all of these, during this journey. And then having a neurologist, movement disorder specialist, again, that's very important that you make sure you have the proper doctors, therapists, mental health professionals, nutritionists, maybe some personal trainers. You might need a social worker or nurses as the disease progresses. And then there are a lot of other specialists that we can refer you to as well as needed. So what we like to tell people is you can be a fighter, right? You can fight Parkinson's disease. And one of the things that NeuroChallenge does is we provide everybody who asks for one of these guides with it. This is a Parkinson's disease resource guide. It is a booklet that we can mail to you. It's free of charge. We also have it on our website. You can download and print it at no charge. And this is a guide that kind of like walks you through if you are newly diagnosed, or even if you aren't newly diagnosed and you've been dealing with Parkinson's for 10 years or more, this guide can be helpful to you. So please reach out to us, ask for it. It'll go over some of the things that are important for you to get started with so that you can improve the quality of your life today. Care advising is something that we do. It's a very unique service. And basically what it does is it allows people with Parkinson's and their family to get the proper information and resources that they need as they are going through this journey. Now, there are medications for people with Parkinson's. The medications are synthetic dopamine, okay? And it basically helps to manage the current, symptoms that someone is having and their level of functioning. It does replace the dopamine that's no longer being produced in the brain. The name of it is called carbidopa-levodopa. It is the gold standard, but there are many other kinds of medications that also act like that. And we teach people the timing of medication administration is very important. We also teach people how to make sure that they are drinking enough water and avoiding taking their medication with protein. And we really help people to identify help them understand more about their medication so they can go back to their neurologist and ask questions and tweak their medications to make it so that they are having the best days that they can. So exercise is crucial, very, very important for people with Parkinson's to start exercising immediately. It is as important as medicine. Exercise is the only proven, it's evidence-based, the only proven thing that can slow the progression of Parkinson's disease. So it's just the way it works. When the more you exercise, the more your brain hangs on to dopamine, and it's basically it's basically the thing that you need to do. It's as important as drinking water. It's as important as taking your medication. You have to exercise every single day. All right. Also, I wanted to share a couple pictures of what some of our exercise programs look like. We have some boxing classes. We have some chair exercise classes. And nutrition is the other really important thing. So people who have Parkinson's disease do need to keep an eye on their nutrition. It's really important that they follow either the Mediterranean or the MIND diet. This is made up of lean proteins, fruits, vegetables. They get enough fiber, enough protein. They have to manage their protein around the medication that they're taking. We encourage drinking plenty of water because constipation does tend to be a problem for people with Parkinson's. Limiting sugar and caffeine because it does kind of affect how people with Parkinson's get good sleep. And then, there are some other things to consider, but we do recommend tuning into some of our programs where we specifically get deep into nutrition. We believe that education and knowledge is power. We provide all kinds of education out there. We do live and in-person educational forums where we have neurologists come and speak. We have wellness clubs where we have groups of people get together and listen to specialty professional speakers talk about things, like it could be a nutritionist, could be an elder law attorney. We do a lot of things like that. We also have webinars that are on our YouTube channel, which you can get to through our website. These are videos that you can watch, and they are educational. They are usually different kinds of doctors or service providers that are in the community that provide some type of resource that is beneficial for people with Parkinson's. And we do something called the symposium, and we also have an annual expo. These are really big events serving 500 to 1,000 in person, and these are really great opportunities to get around other folks who have Parkinson's, as well as listen to some really great speakers. Here are some more pictures of people doing classes that we offer or sitting in support groups. And it's really important that people with Parkinson's continue to receive social support. Participating in activities that you enjoy, going to support groups, staying engaged, these are all going to empower you and help you combat things like isolation, fear, and depression. We have a program called the Parkinson's Connect Mentorship Program. These are people with Parkinson's who have been through their own challenges in their life and come out on the other side where they feel like they can give back to the Parkinson's community. And so they are available to talk to if you are someone with Parkinson's or need a little extra help, or you want to understand the disease a little bit better from somebody who has it, then you can reach out to people in our mentorship program. There are other things you can do when you have Parkinson's that can help with finding a cure, and that is being involved in clinical studies. If you would like to consider that, you could go to clinicaltrials.gov website and look at the different trials that are out there. People with and without Parkinson's can be part of these trials, and they all go towards helping us find a cure for this disease. And then having a positive attitude is super important. It's important because being a Parkinson's fighter is what's going to help you have the stamina and the strength to wake up every single day with this disease and fight the challenges that come your way. So we encourage people to have a positive attitude. We help you do that through all the programs that we offer. And that is my presentation. If you have questions, I would be happy to answer them.
Thank you so much, Miss April. That was super informative. We had no idea that living close to a golf course could cause Parkinson's. That's crazy.
No, I will say that it's not like living next to a golf course for 1 year is going to cause Parkinson's. A lot of the toxins and the environmental concerns really need to be a part of your life for many years for them to be able to work their way into your body and then to the brain to cause the problem. But it could be 10, 15 years of exposure to chemicals and then, Parkinson's can set in. Yes.
Okay. Wow, amazing. Or not amazing, but I guess a little scary. What is one small step someone could take, after listening to you today, that will help them, possibly not get Parkinson's?
Yeah. So prevention is so possible. Number one, I would, if I, and I'm somebody who doesn't have Parkinson's, and I've already started to take a lot of steps towards eliminating toxins in my world, right? So take a look at the list, like the one that I kind of read off. If you have any of those chemicals in your home, just stop using them. Right? Don't buy them anymore. Replace them with all natural ingredients. That's the best thing to do, is eliminate the toxins that are around you and in your home and in your workplace. And that's one good step you can take. Another thing that you can do is just taking really good care of yourself and knowing your body well enough to know when something's a little off, right? Because one of the biggest problems that we hear from people with Parkinson's is that they look back after diagnosis, right? Like like let's say they were diagnosed this year. They're going to look back and they're going to go, "Wow, I had these symptoms about 15 years ago." And we always say, well, wow, if you had these symptoms 15 years ago, how come you didn't do anything about it? Well, not that we're judging, but it's very easy to not do things about our symptoms, right? Think about how many times you yourself have had constipation. If you've had constipation for 4 or 5 days in a row, like normally somebody would say, well, I just wasn't drinking enough water. Oh, I'm not, exercising enough. I'm not moving my body enough. Maybe I'm not eating enough fiber, right? But the real question should be like, if this is a consistent problem, maybe it's something else. Maybe it's Parkinson's disease. So, what we all need to start doing is knowing our bodies well enough to know that when something's a little askew, don't just sweep it under the rug. Don't be somebody who's going to say, oh, that's nothing. That's no big deal, because it could be a big deal. And the earlier you catch a disease like Parkinson's, the better that you are going to be equipped to get onto the right plan to help live a better quality of life.
Wow. Okay. Thank you. And what is a common myth that you could bust for us right now?
Mm, a common myth. I think a common myth is that when you get Parkinson's disease, you die, and that's not true. Parkinson's disease is not going to be what kills you. People with Parkinson's disease, when they get diagnosed, they can still live 20, 30, 40 years. It is a progressive disease and it does worsen over time, but it's not going to be what kills you.
Okay, that's a good one. It's really good.
Mhm.
Okay, so you just talked about how, if maybe you've been constipated for so long and it's been happening for 15 years and you just thought it was normal.
Mm.
What would be like a good wake-up call, like for you to be like, hey, if this is happening, go get checked.
You would have to say a wake up call kind of thing would be like if you're tripping, falling, maybe your gait, that's the way you walk, is different. Something's changed about it. Maybe you're walking and now all of a sudden one of your arms just doesn't swing when you walk. Pay attention to how you walk next time. Like normally your shoulders move and your arms kind of swing next to your side. Even if it's slightly, they swing. If one of them isn't anymore, that could be a sign of Parkinson's. So I think it just goes back to really paying attention to you and your body and what's normal for you. And also to think back in your life and say, was I exposed to a lot of chemicals growing up? Because people with Parkinson's are realizing that maybe they're 65 now, right? And they just got diagnosed. But what they're realizing and they're kind of tracing back is that really their exposure was 40 years ago. Okay. So if they grew up on a farm, or they worked in some industrial factory and they were exposed to chemicals or something, or they were in the military and they were exposed to chemicals. That exposure, even if it was like for 10 years, 5, 10 years, got into their system, and then it just kind of did its magic behind the scenes. You don't know it's happening, but it's causing the depletion of dopamine over years and years and years. And finally, it gets to a point where your dopamine is so depleted that now you're showing outward symptoms. Now you're showing things like tripping, falling, constipation, can't smell, like all of these things are happening, and you're like, what's going on? But meanwhile, it could have been from 40, 30, 25 years ago that you were exposed.
Okay. All right. And then what's one thing that you wish more people understood? Of course, like that you're not gonna die quicker or, super fast because you have it. But like what's something else that you're like, you know what, you guys, that's not true.
Well, I think one thing, and I'm not somebody who has Parkinson's, but being that I've been around enough people with Parkinson's, I think one thing that they would like to convey is that they still have the same dreams and wishes as anybody else. They still want to participate in the same things everybody else does, but guess what? They're just going to be a little bit slower at it. Their brain may not process information as quickly. It doesn't mean that they're not as intelligent, and it doesn't mean that that they are not equipped to do the things that you're doing. It's just everything's going to be a little bit slower.
Okay, okay, that's good. That's good. Um, and what's something patients should feel comfortable asking their provider? Like maybe what's something like, very personable. I know, when men get older, they might have
Mhm.
reproductive questions they want to ask, and sometimes they feel embarrassed. What is something that you've seen that people are embarrassed to ask and they shouldn't be so embarrassed?
Well, I mean, definitely constipation comes to mind. We hear so many times that people are embarrassed to talk about that because they think that it's their own diet that's causing it, or they think that they're just doing something wrong in their life and they don't want to talk about their bowel movements. But the truth is your gut is a very big factor when it comes to chronic illnesses like Parkinson's disease. A lot of these diseases actually start in the gut, and they start because of gut problems and gut dysbiosis. So it's important to talk about these things. It's embarrassing, yes, but it's important that you bring it out to your doctor and say, "Hey, I'm really struggling with this," because yes, they may prescribe something to help, alleviate some of the constipation, but the important thing is getting to the root cause of the constipation, right? Which might be finding out that you have a bigger diagnosis. That's just one thing. I think another important thing that people with Parkinson's need to feel comfortable asking their provider about is help with anxiety and depression. A lot of times people will suffer through depression and just think that it has to do with the fact that they're apathetic and that the lack of dopamine makes them not interested in things. But there is a big difference between apathy and depression. And it's important to talk to your provider about these things. There's help for you, whether it's talk therapy or medication, but we don't really we want people to not be under the cloud of depression or a lot of anxiety because it only makes the condition worse.
Do we know what the cause of the constipation is?
Yes, so it comes from the fact that Parkinson's it's like a slow motility of your gut, right? Your intestines is very long and winding, and it has a lot of muscles need to make your intestines work. Well, if Parkinson's is a movement disorder that affects all the muscles in your body, of course it's going to affect your intestines too. And so that's one reason that people have constipation is it's just slow motility. So one of the things that can help with it is getting more fiber and more water into your diet and moving your body, exercise, walk. Those are the things that really help. And then some people with Parkinson's have extreme constipation issues, and they really need to seek some help from their doctor with that.
Sounds like the peristalsis slows down
Absolutely.
because it's a muscle. As you said, that the GI tract is one long muscle,
Yes.
right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Do
Mhm.
we have any other questions from the audience?
Have the medications now being used, certainly are more or newer than in the old days, are they more helpful with the tremor and other symptoms?
Yes, there are so many more medications on the market right now than just the gold standard carbidopa-levodopa. Gold standard meaning that that's what almost every neurologist is going to prescribe in the beginning just to get started, because it works so well. But as the disease progresses, people do need more and more of this medication because they continue to, have more symptoms. And so remember the medication is not stopping Parkinson's. It's just helping with the symptoms of it.
Sure.
So what needs to happen is that people do need to start exploring maybe other medications that are out there that might help with some of their other symptoms. And now that there are so many different ones out there, that's why it's important to see a movement disorder specialist. They are the most trained in the multiple kinds of medication. And then there's also something called deep brain stimulation that some people can have with Parkinson's. Not everybody, but a lot of people do qualify for this. And it's where they actually put electrodes in the certain parts of the brain. And then it is connected to kind of like a pacemaker, like a heart pacemaker, but it's a little pacemaker under your skin in your chest. And then it's connected to your cell phone. And you basically can operate the electrodes and how many little vibrations it gives your brain. That is a phenomenal surgery and treatment out there right now that a lot of people are having success with.
Are the neurosurgeons performing that surgery here?
Yes, we do have neurosurgeons in this area, in Sarasota, Bradenton, Tampa. Yes, we do that are performing it. And many people in our Parkinson's community have had deep brain stimulation. Again, you do have to be with a movement disorder specialist for a period of time. You have to meet certain criteria. Not everybody qualifies because you have to go through many tests to prove that your body can handle such a surgery. But lots of people have it successfully.
Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome.
Wow, this was so good. I'm sorry I'm late to the party here, but
Hi,
just from
Monique.
what I've got, I really was intrigued to hear about the environmental piece and how that impacts Parkinson's. I'm gonna have to rewatch to see about that. But man, thank
Yes,
you so much, Miss April, for all of this valuable knowledge to share
you
with
are
our
so
community.
welcome. There's a book if anyone is interested in looking more into the environmental causes. It's called The Plan, and it is written by Dr. Oken and Dr. Dorsey. They are both movement disorder specialists, and they co-authored this book called The Plan, The Parkinson's Plan. And it does go over, everything that has to do with what causes Parkinson's. And it tells a lot of stories from people who had these kinds of exposures in their life at some point, whether it was from military, from where they lived, they maybe lived next to something that was hazardous. So it's a very interesting book if you want to go down and learn more about environmental toxins.
Yes, I would say this is good because we can share this with our audience and
Mhm.
also put it in our newsletter as a suggested read from this
Yeah.
evening. Can you spell the name of the doctor? Dr. Oken, Okin?
OKUN.
Okun.
And Dr. Dorsey, Dorsey. And actually, Dr. Dorsey just spoke at our annual Parkinson's Expo that was in Bradenton a
Hmm,
couple of weeks ago. And, he did a book signing and everything. And the book is available on Amazon as well as his website as well.
got it. Okay. This is amazing.
Yeah.
Let's see. I feel like we were doing really great on our timing this evening. And
Yes, I don't think there was anything more for me to go over, but if anybody knows anybody with Parkinson's, or if you are concerned that you might have Parkinson's, maybe you looked at that list of early markers and you were like, oh my gosh, I have so many of those. And it's easy for any of us to do because at any given time, we are all experiencing life in different ways and there are, all kinds of things that can happen. You can lose your smell and you can definitely stumble and fall any day. So keep in mind that doesn't mean you have Parkinson's, but keep an eye on those kinds of markers so that you can bring that to your doctor's attention. And reach out to NeuroChallenge if you need anything. If you know somebody with Parkinson's and they need more support and help, we're here for them.
One last question for me. Is there any racial disparity or more frequency that you know of?
So I am not familiar with any racial disparity. I want to say Ashkenazi Jewish tends to have more Parkinson's, but please don't quote me on that.
Okay.
I'm that's not my specialty to know that. But I do know that because of the cause being that mostly it is an environmental toxin, you're going to see that people who had exposure to things like that are going to be the ones that have more Parkinson's coincidence. So let's say, military personnel, right? If you were on a particular base and you were exposed to the water supply that was contaminated by chemicals, then that population of people. So you could maybe look at race that way, but it's not based on genetic reasons.
Thank you.
Mhm.
And thank you for your experience and sharing your wisdom. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Gotcha. Well, everyone, it's now 6:46. No one else has any other questions. Then I know that you've provided us. We have, I think the last page of your slide was contact information, and we have your contact information, so we can be sure to post that with the presentation. So afterwards, we'll be able to watch the replay of this on our Facebook page, the Multicultural Health Institute, and also on YouTube, the Multicultural Health Institute. And we will also send you this video replay, Miss April, so that you can share it with your audience and as well. And we'll go from there.
Thank you so much. This was a pleasure to be on, and I appreciate you giving us a little platform to share Parkinson's Awareness Month.
Thank you. Thank you very
Thank you
much.
very much. It was really good.
Really good. Very informative.
Very
Excellent.
good.
Take care tonight.
Appreciate
All
it.
right, everyone. Thank you for joining us this evening, and we'll see you next month for our next